episode 26. Thank you all for listening to episode 25. Jason Garrett, Duke of Trash. I am Gary here with my co-host,
Bear. Is anybody else here? Hello. Is it just us?
It's just us. Apparently Jake is not here yet.
Oh.
Of course, this is what happens on Saturday morning. You know, I'm shocked that Brandon gets here. Maybe if we put Jake onto the pumpkin spice, he'd show up.
I mean, all we have to do is put a couple pumpkin spice little creamers out there, and should be just fine.
Yeah, and get him some of those pumpkin spice frosted flakes. He might be all right.
Easy for you to say.
I know, right? It was terrible. But, you know, Brandon is off. This is the last episode he will be off, and he returns on Wednesday for, I guess it would be episode 27 already, which is unbelievable.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Happy to have him back. We need to get this Bear and Brandon debate up and rolling in the flesh, not over you reading him or him chiming in on the phone. So this will be good. We'll be glad to have Brandon back and get him back in here and give us his wonderful insight and tell us how his NASCAR guy almost didn't make it through to the finals there.
Well,
close.
It's okay.
And how he's still whining, isn't he? He's probably still whining right now.
Well, and I know you were whining a little bit when we covered it on Wednesday with what happened with Kevin Harvick, but that's okay. We'll see what happens on Sunday at Phoenix ISM.
Yeah.
So, but he'll be back, like we said, and Ryan from the Grown-Ups could not be here today. He had to tell us last minute on Wednesday couldn't be here, and we knew he wouldn't be here today either because of he has some personal things going on that he had to take care of, emergencies, and so we hope to have him on in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be okay. It's unfortunate because I know he picked King of the Ring, but he did give me some notes.
Okay, sweet.
So that's going to help us out here. So thanks to Wes Anderson for Moments in Time. Check him out on Wes Anderson Music on Facebook and give him a follow on Twitter @SongsByWes. Thanks to All Wear Clothing, the official merchandise provider for Over the Line Sports Podcast. If you want to do business with them, mention Over the Line Sports Podcast, and Brandon, not the guy missing from here, will give you a great deal on your clothing needs. Thank you to Crandall's Quality Lawn Care. Check them out on Facebook, Crandall's Quality Lawn Care. You can also call them at 419-704-5471. Serves the Toledo and surrounding area, not
Bulgaria.
I like it.
Is that still a country too?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
just curious.
Rusev. The Bulgarian brute.
That's right. That's probably why I thought of it.
Yeah, so Rusev, sorry you cannot get your lawn taken care of.
Well, I mean, Lana might be able to take care of that for him.
Oh, I'm sure she would.
She'd probably mow his lawn.
I know she probably mows her own lawn.
Oh.
So we can go from there. But it's No Shave November.
Do you think that she leaves just a one patch left in the yard?
Like a landing strip in the yard?
I wouldn't say that. Just kind of like just one. I wouldn't say quite landing. It's just when you're cutting your grass.
Kind of like a runway.
Yeah, more or less. So you're cutting your grass and you just, you don't have the last perfect strip and there's just a little bit left right down the middle and you just don't want to cut it and leave it there for next time. At least that's what I do usually.
Yeah.
Just something like that. That's all. Just bringing that up.
That wouldn't be bad. I like that. Thank you to Verizon, of course, who is a true technology business partner and helps local businesses deploy technologies that positively impact operations and can increase revenue for the company. At Verizon, we do not wait for the future, we build it. Go to their website, get in touch with a sales rep in your area. Thank you, Tim and Stephanie. Bear, credit score still looking good?
Yes. I'm still, I think now I'm like 826.
Nice.
So it's raising slightly, but I can only go so much further, so
yeah.
I'm not too mad if it raises a point or two every other week. It's not bad.
That's nice. And, Jake, maybe Jake listened to us and is visiting Cassandra at PNC Bank.
Maybe that's why he's not here today.
Hopefully that's what it is. Hopefully she's helping him out with a loan or credit card or some personal banking things, and she's going to help him out. And if anybody else needs help from her, give her a call, 419-877-0634. So Crown Jewel is the first thing we have up here. So just to update the records, we got rid of one of the matches, which we'll get into later. So the records were Bear and Jake were 8-2, and Brandon and myself were 7-3. So we all did pretty well. I know we talked about last week pyros and fireworks and those things. Did you happen to notice that those were there? So when Brock did his entrance, the fireworks blast and everything goes off?
And it was the big fireworks.
Yeah.
I know it was all around the stage. There wasn't any up close. I think there was
some on the stage that shot up.
A couple, but it was mostly over the stadium, right? Yeah.
Because when Mysterio did his old school thing where he points down, when he runs from side to side, fireworks went off there.
Yep.
So it was pretty sweet to see. The return of Hulk Hogan. What'd you think?
I thought that was really cool. I had a feeling it was going to happen. I knew it was, but I forgot about it. So I thought that was really cool. And he came out and, addressed the crowd and everything and said he was pretty much, he's back at least in the WWE good graces, more or less. All the Hall of Fame, all that stuff, which we knew was going to happen eventually. So I think that was a good time, especially with all the other stars, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, these guys dropping out. I think they definitely needed Hogan, and I'm sure Vince paid a pretty penny to get him there, but I think it was good that he needed to be there at that time and start off the show, which I think was great. Got that crowd pumped up. With that, did you see like all of the people sitting in like the frickin' lawn, or not the lawn chairs, like the lazy boys in the front row?
It was like the.
That had to be like all the rich kids, right?
It was like the Royal Rumble or their the Greatest Royal Rumble. They had the same thing. The chairs they put out there.
See, I never watched that actually.
It's better than Australia when they had the plastic chairs.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. But yeah, it felt like it had to be all the the rich oil kids and all that, and all the princes or whatever. It had to be that sitting in the front row. That's all I could think every time I saw him. Thought it was kind of funny.
It was interesting. So I found out that the Prince, of Saudi Arabia is a big nostalgic wrestling fan. So like especially 80s. So Hulk Hogan getting there was huge for him.
Yeah, he loved that.
And Hogan, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, he put on there, he's like, gosh, I got to get under 300. Looking too big, like I beat up half the roster. And then Rusev says, how about you and me, WrestleMania 35? I'm like, Rusev, I love it. Always on Twitter trying to plug himself.
As much as great as that sounds, Hogan should never wrestle again. He just needs to be a mouthpiece and be out there. If he was like general manager or something, I think that would be pretty cool. Or anything along those lines. Even a manager of someone up and coming, I think that would be pretty sweet. But yeah, I don't think he should be in the ring. I'm sure he thinks he should be in the ring, but I think Hogan's ring days are over with, or at least they should be for the most part. Then again, you got all these other guys wrestling into their 60s sometimes, on occasion. So we'll see with that.
Yeah, I happened to kind of watch some stuff with Ric Flair recently, just when he retired and when Michaels retired him in 08. It's been 10 years. You believe that?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that was right, and that was, like I said, with Michaels in this, which we'll get into later, to see him wrestle again.
Yeah. It
was pretty interesting, and he was slow, but what else did you expect?
Yeah, and we'll get into that whole match, and we'll actually probably cover that last. So I'll work from the bottom up. So we had the Bar and New Day, and we knew what was going to happen there. The Bar won, kept the tag titles. Next, you got into Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley. Seth won, which we all thought, except Jake thought Bobby Lashley. Kurt Angle, Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler won that to move on and face Seth. Miz beat Hardy. And then Mysterio kind of surprised us. I know you and Jake called it, but he beat Orton. And then he RKO'd him out of nowhere right then and there afterwards and just beat him up. He was pissed. And then next, the Miz went on to beat Mysterio. And then Dolph beat Seth, which was kind of surprising. And then we're just kind of sitting there wondering, I'm like, that's two heels. So this is interesting. And then all of a sudden, Miz hops out of the ring and hurts his ankle or whatever.
Whatever he did, right? He sold it great.
Kayfabe, as we discussed in the past, and here comes Shane. He's by the sides with Baron Corbin. He's like, I'm going to fill in. I'm like, oh, no, here we go. So this is where we're talking about where we washed of the match, the no contest, because we couldn't predict that. And
like I think I texted you the other day. I said, there's no way. If you gave me 100 guesses, I wouldn't have guessed that to happen because it's just so odd. And it helps that I don't really, watch Raw and Smackdown as much as the pay-per-views, but I feel like that was really weird. I don't mind seeing Shane O'Mac out there, but I thought that was an odd place to have him fill in at.
I agree. And, that
could have been Hogan.
Yeah, it could.
He could have came out and did a quick, leg drop and just been done in a minute, squashed him. It would have been stupid, but he could have.
Yeah, like Shane could have beat him up, and then here comes Hogan, or something like that.
Something weird like that, right?
And I agree. And then kind of we'll get into what happened in SmackDown and Raw, and kind of discuss that, kind of what led into that, and what happened to lead up to Survivor Series. I found it interesting when we got into it. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised with AJ and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, I'm going to get into him a little bit later. I know Jason had some good debate topic about Samoa Joe, so we'll talk about that. But Samoa Joe, I just think, and I put this in the notes later, but I'll bring it up now because I'm thinking about it. He is just in the wrong era. He is so good as a heel, and I think he's just in the wrong era. Like if he was Attitude Era or Ruthless Aggression, era, he would have been really good. And he's good now, but he's good in any time. But I'm like, man, I wish they could have used him then.
Yeah, I mean, I think when did he had to start like 02, 03. I mean, he would have started around the Ruthless Aggression era time, but yeah, obviously he didn't make it to WWE until last year, I think, or 2 years ago, whatever it was.
He's been around.
He was in NXT for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, he's been in NXT, and then he got called up a couple years ago, and now he's where he's at, and he should have been there a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he ever went to NXT because he was so great in TNA, and it's not like AJ Styles went from TNA to NXT. He came right to the main roster,
card, yeah.
Which I think both.
Because he went to New Japan and then came back here.
And I mean, Styles is better than Samoa Joe overall, but it's it's not by a lot. Samoa Joe is a main card guy, and obviously you're seeing that
Samoa
now.
Joe's better on the mic than AJ. AJ's okay, but Samoa
and AJ's better in the ring.
Right, exactly. So they that's why they complement each other so well. And AJ and him have great matches.
Yeah,
which is awesome to see.
And that's the other thing is you knew that AJ was going to win just because they didn't. This wasn't supposed to happen. The feud ended at the Last Man Standing, or was it Last Man Standing? What was it that they had? Their last match that they had?
Yeah, the last man
standing,
yep.
right?
And then
it was supposed to be Daniel Bryan, which they had to break back to feud.
Did you know why he didn't go? I read more into this.
No.
So apparently he was saying he wasn't going to go for a long time, and it's because of their views against homosexuality, and women too, because of obviously Brie being his wife. There's a big thing there too. So it wasn't anything with the political. I think that just fueled it and added to it. But we'll see what happened. And we can go from there. And then next was Brock and Braun, because we're going to save the other one for last, which was last. So Brock and Braun surprised me. Jake got this right, but he's also just throwing darts at a board. Right. Baron hits him with a belt to start the match. Exactly. I'm like, here we go.
Yep,
and I thought there was a chance when he got him F5'd him a couple times, and you even texted us.
F5'd him over the top rope.
Nuts.
That was insane. Like, you can do that with like a Rey Mysterio, but when you do it with a man that's bigger than yourself, that's insane. He never did that with the Big Show.
Right.
I mean, that was nuts. And it looked like it hurt. It did not look good for Braun.
And Brock, was looking a little trimmed up, I think, getting ready for UFC, but now... I was reading more into Cormier, who, by the way, squashed. Well, he didn't squash, but he choked out Lewis.
Which was stupid, by the way.
Right.
We didn't cover it on the last one because really that was the only decent fight on that card.
Exactly.
And they gave Derek Lewis literally a month to train for that, to fight the best wrestler in UFC, possibly history. So that was really disappointing, and I'm happy because I wasn't going to pay for that or anything anyways. But... it was, to get off topic, that was not the greatest thing. And everyone, DC is the best. Yeah, we know that, but he still can't beat John Jones, dude. So until that happens.
So I know this is going to be probably the third, which is sounding like he's going to fight him before Lesnar. Especially, we don't know what Lesnar's new deal is. We got to look into that.
Lesnar shouldn't get a title fight, though.
I agree.
To start. I mean, he's gotten his ass whooped the last couple times he's been out there.
Except, what did he fight at 200? And then he won, but he
won, he beat Mir there. And then...
Well, no, not Mir. He beat the big dude. The fat guy.
Oh, yeah, Mark Hunt. Sorry, I was thinking of 100. Sorry about
Mark
that.
Hunt, but then he
beat Mark Hunt.
With the steroid
But he got popped, so yeah, exactly. And he beat it. It was a really boring fight.
It was.
And that's the thing is that I think if that happened, it's great wrestling on wrestling, but I think DC would catch him and knock him out. Brock's chin just isn't what it used to be. So I think that if he did fight him, I think DC would beat him, which I hate to say. But at the end of the day, if they're going to do that, DC needs to go back and fight John Jones because...
Has he beaten him in the other two fights?
No,
Jones beat him both times.
Yeah, but both times, one of them, I think he got suspended on the last one. He got arrested, so he got his belt taken away. And then the last one, he got popped for the roids, or whatever it was, drugs, roids. But that was the one they just took back, saying, no, this wasn't the case. So be it. We'll see. If he ever wants to be the greatest ever, he's got to beat John Jones. Simple as that.
I agree. And, the next one, of course, the last match. So, by the way, I didn't give our overall record. So, Bear, by the way, you're 25-12-1. Mm-hmm. I'm 24-13-1. So, a match behind you. Brandon he gained 17-20-1.
All right.
So, he's coming up. And then Jake is 12-5. So he's not doing bad for a guy that doesn't watch wrestling. So that's pretty good for us. But this last match, I was looking forward to it because I wanted to see Michaels. It's weird still seeing him and Triple H with beards and bald.
Yes, especially Michaels. Triple H, we've seen for a while. So that is acceptable. But yeah, seeing Michaels bald and wrestling, yeah. Michaels looked really. I mean, and I hate it because I know he hasn't wrestled in 10 years. He looks so slow in the ring. I mean, it wasn't great. I was not impressed. Triple H still looks good as always. I mean, he still got it.
But for a guy who hasn't done anything in 8 years,
it wasn't bad. It just wasn't.
And he's also working with people that are.
Yeah, and he's not working with
slow.
the fastest guys in the world either. But you could just see him off the ropes and everything. It's like,
what'd you think of the moonsault?
That was impressive. He missed. I mean, he didn't miss.
He didn't miss. They missed catching him.
Yeah, I think Taker took a knee to the face, or Kane did.
Well,
he took a knee to the face, and Undertaker just missed. So
and then he pulled him over to him.
He pretty much hit all ground.
In the ring, Kane got his mask knocked off. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, and then on the outside, he didn't have it. And he was trying to put it back. They have the camera on him, and it's just like, what is going on?
Yeah, it was, and then of course the big thing there, the big spot. Michaels did his flip up into the rope when he got thrown into the corner, and then Triple H is coming and flies over, and then all of a sudden you look, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, you could see it was bad right after because he was just holding it, and they didn't have anyone out there. The ref wasn't even out there at the time until he got back in, and he's trying to Irish whip people on the ropes, and you're seeing he's doing it with. He's like, what's he doing? We're like, oh, he's obviously holding his right, so he's trying to do it with his left, and the fact that he still fought through that is. Whew.
Well, not even just that. You had the best guy in the ring still, because of what the shape he's in, how much he wrestles. He's still the best out of those four currently.
Yep.
Not in their prime. It'd be a little different. It'd be Michaels, but it was interesting to see that you had the best guy currently who's injured and still going. I mean, he still did the spine buster with one arm.
Yeah, that was.
He did the pedigree lifted
crazy.
He lifted a couple times.
The pedigree looked like it hurt. That looked bad, but I
painful.
mean, the fact that he even did it is just impressive.
The fact he did that for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
It was like that, and just finished the match. He didn't care.
Nope.
And then when you sent the picture.
Yeah, the picture, that was Monday or Tuesday, I think, this week.
Right.
Where he showed a picture of his, it had to be Monday, because he showed a picture of his torn pec, and it was just all bruised, his entire pec, his shoulder, and half of his bicep. Just entirely bruised. It was nasty, and he ended up getting surgery on that. So he won't be wrestling here for a little while. So whatever Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Kane feud that they have is going to be done for a little bit.
Right. So overall, what would you think? What'd you think of Crown Jewel?
I mean, it was okay. I like the tournament style. It's always fun. King of the Ring was always one of my favorite pay-per-views. I always dig the tournament style. I certainly did. Wasn't the greatest. Women's Evolution was better than this, I think, and there has been a couple other cards that have been better than this here in recent months, but it wasn't too bad. And you got to see Hogan, you still got to see some other guys wrestle, but honestly, there wasn't like any spectacular matches on there. Obviously, Styles and Joe was really good, but other than that, I didn't. All the matches were just okay. Right. And then Survivor Series in 2 weeks already, right?
I believe so.
It's gonna be quick turnaround on that too.
I just looked at my clock because I remember because I'm trying to keep an eye on it because I've got to be at the game today. But I'm like, it is 6:21 in the morning.
You're still going to that?
Yeah, I'm still going. That's why we're doing this so early and why Jake's probably not here. Yeah, it's the high today in East Lansing is 33.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold.
And I gotta be to my buddy's house, Quentin, who's a listener as well. We're going up to the game.
He's a big Sparty fan, isn't he?
Yeah, well, we both got our masters from there. He got his actual JD MBA from there. So he.
It's too many letters for me.
Right, too many acronyms. And so we it's funny that we grew up both Buckeyes fans, and we go in our Spartan gear, especially there, obviously. Yeah. But he asked if I was going to go on Wednesday, and I talked about it, and I was like, I didn't plan on it, and kind of what I talked about Wednesday, I didn't plan on it, but he said, well, his wife didn't want to go, and she's a Buckeye fan. She's like, I don't want to see that trash, so she's not going. He's like, you want to go? I said, done. I just got to get out of these birthday parties today.
Yep.
So out of the birthday parties, and yeah, when we get this done, I'm literally going to put on warm clothes, and I'm heading out because I got to be up there.
All the hand warmers and everything you're going to need today. It's going to be cold.
It's going to be awful.
It's going to be really cold sitting in the 71-degree heat of my house.
Yeah,
darn.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But with you, back to Crown Jewel, I thought it was okay. Same thing. That, like you said, the nostalgia, it was there. But with Michaels, I wasn't, I didn't get as much hype as I thought I would. But I went in expecting very minimal.
Right.
And then when Triple H got hurt, I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah, that sucked, and
Then
you
the
know,
mask coming off just topped it off.
Injuries happen, and yeah, like I said, it was a decent match. I wish it didn't happen. It probably would have been a little bit better, but like you said, it wasn't the worst. Certainly wasn't the best. Just a mediocre card, and that's fine. And hopefully Survivor Series is better.
I agree. So before we get into the Raw and SmackDown recap to kind of see what happened, let's talk a little bit about Justin on the Twitter. So Justin on the Twitter gave us, would The Rock win a presidential election bid in 2020? Who would be the hardest for him to beat? Well, in 2020, it's still going to be Trump, so that he would be the one he'd have to beat. But in the Democrat side, I don't know who's going to come out Democrat. I know now with what we just saw in the election on Tuesday that Biden's talking about coming back.
Interesting.
Yes, and because they did, they had Beto, what is it, DeSantos or something from Texas who lost to Ted Cruz, who had a chance. He's like a Bobby Kennedy. He really is.
Okay. And
he lost the race there. And then Gillum in Florida lost.
To Rubio.
No, not Rubio. DeSantis.
I thought you just said Florida.
Yeah, the governor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Rubio Senate. And I don't even think he was in this one.
No, I don't think he was
he's not
either
even in the Senate anymore. Now that I think about it, Rubio isn't.
I don't know. With that, I knew that I heard Hillary wants to run again. I don't think she's even going to get close to being what she was.
They won't nominate her.
I don't think they will. One, obviously, she's kind of insane. Two, she isn't fit for it.
Right.
And that's not a derogatory thing. It's that she literally is. I don't think that she could handle that with her health issues she has. It's true. She has fainting spells. You can't have a leader who just randomly faints all the time. That's not good.
Yeah, I know Trump's old, and she's getting old, and she's been through this the whole time. I think the best thing for her is being away.
She should be. She just needs to enjoy retirement somewhere with Bill and his other women.
And in my opinion, if the Democratic Party wants to beat the Republican Party, Donald Trump, in the presidential election, they're going to need somebody that can get votes. They're going to need a celebrity or something else. So I think Rock could beat him. I do.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Rock could beat anybody, to be honest with you, because obviously you saw that Trump did, and Trump beat Cruz and beat Rubio and beat Kasich.
Yeah, he was an asshole to 16 other candidates and just came. And I remember Ann Coulter calling it. They all laughed at her. She's like, They asked her, who do you think's going to represent the party? And she's like, Donald Trump. And they all laughed. And she's like, I'm telling you.
Yeah. And
he's the president.
And the bad thing is, that's where we're at in society right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that you need lifetime politicians in here to do this. And I don't want to make this a long thing about politics since we're in this. But it's something different. That's what America wanted, and that's what they got. And half of them don't like it. Half of them kind of like it or think they like it. Whatever the case may be. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not on either side. I just like Tuesday when I went to vote, I vote for who I think is going to be best. No matter what. At the end of the day, I think whoever is going to be best in that place. So I voted for Republicans and I voted for Democrats. I voted for both.
Same here.
I'm happy that DeWine is governor of Ohio and Corduroy isn't. I saw someone post on Facebook, and I can't remember who it was. I wouldn't say their name regardless. But they're, a total Democrat, all left, no matter what. And they posted, I can't believe DeWine, that DeWine is going to be governor of Ohio. That's ridiculous. And I said, so you're telling me you voted for the guy who doesn't test rape kits? It's a little bit ridiculous. Right. Corduroy literally didn't. He had 20,000 that were out there.
Every time you say corduroy,
I know. I don't
Cordry.
know. Cordry. I like
corduroy because I'm thinking of the clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Pants. That dude. Yeah, it's odd that even Democrats, would even look at that and say, even that for me was enough. And just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean you can't vote Republican. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you can't vote Democrat. You got to vote for who's best. Voted for Marcy Kaptur again. She should be, because Toledo is usually in pretty darn good shape. She hasn't let it down, so keep letting her do what she needs to do.
And it's same with Bob Latta, Republican. He does great for them. And
he wasn't on mine. He must not have been a Lucas County. Is he Wood County?
Yeah, he's been Wood County.
Yeah, so that's why.
But he has always been somebody who is in support. For example, I talked to my mother about this a lot. We talked about it on Election Day, that he supports homelessness. So when they talk about people, the prisons, how they get them out of the prison because they're getting overstaffed or overstocked, and then they got to go into places like homeless shelters or anything else, but they can't get money for that, but they get money for the jails. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
And that's how he is. And but to get back,
speaking of that, sorry, I didn't see. Did the jail pass?
No.
The Lucas County?
I don't think so.
You didn't? Okay.
I don't think it did.
I forgot
I
to
can't
look
remember.
because I voted yes on it.
I know.
I'm selfish. That was going to raise the property value of my house.
I don't know if it did or not, because that would be what Alexis in Detroit is where they were talking about putting it.
Yeah, right over by me.
Yeah, exactly. And I know the other thing, issue 1 went down.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was. I don't know what the hell people were thinking. It doesn't make any sense. They don't. I don't.
Why they should be yes.
Yeah, I don't understand what people don't realize about why. I mean, why would you want someone in prison who had an ounce of marijuana on them, and they got busted with it? I know it's a crime, but just make it a misdemeanor and let's move on with our day here. Fine them. You don't need to put them in jail for that. I mean, there's difference between selling other drugs, but I mean, that was it. It was just for marijuana.
That's why people wanted yes on it.
Right, to take them to.
But it makes
take them out of that.
It makes sense for the no too, because either way, just because it says it would go from a felony 4 or 5 to a misdemeanor, doesn't mean it would happen, even if that passed. Right. And the big thing about it is what people didn't like about it, and I can tell you because my whole family had issues with addiction, is they said they would put money towards, allocate it towards these programs. They didn't say where or what. So would they have done it? Don't know. So I think that's why it got voted down.
Michigan did decriminalize marijuana. So
but every kind of similar to what happened in Michigan before. So in Michigan, they did the same thing where they passed it medically, and you can opt out. This is the same thing here. So they legalize it. They can all opt out again. So it could be people are like, oh yay, you can buy it here. I'm like, they can still opt out. People don't understand this when they go vote. They're like, oh, it's passed. It's good. That's not how the world works.
Right, and that's what we had to explain to people at work about that, and I probably wouldn't do it if I were you because you will get random and you will get fired. Our policy didn't change just because Michigan does. Right. It doesn't work that way.
That's what we try to tell people too.
Yeah, that was like, okay guys, just calm down a little bit. But if you want, go ahead and sell, and makes a little bit extra money on the side if you're doing in the legal rights. I don't really care what you do, is just don't do it because we don't want to have to fire you for that. Anyways, got way off topic. Let's get back to The Rock.
So The Rock, he would win.
I think he would win. I think that no matter what, whether it was Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, I think
whatever he run, he could run as a Whig.
Yeah,
bring back a Whig party. He's winning.
Exactly,
in my opinion.
And I mean, I think that I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he wants to do it. Maybe not now. Maybe 2024, 2028.
Yep.
I mean, The Rock is probably I don't even know, 45, 46 years old.
I think he's 48 or 49 now.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter though. He's got plenty of years, and plus everybody likes him. The dude never does anything wrong. No one ever has a bad thing about him.
He is a story of coming from nothing.
Yeah.
$7. That's why his movie productions, $7 Productions.
Yep.
He tells that story all the time,
and he does great things for everybody. You always see it. He always stops to sign autographs. I remember one of them was this dude had a flat tire or something like that, and this guy pulled over and he went to go help him, and it was The Rock, and the guy's like, what the, he was shocked because why would a big celebrity who's a multi-millionaire be doing this and helping me change my tire? And that's just the kind of guy he is. He's a great family guy. He can, I think everyone would like him. I think he would win popular vote by a landslide,
which in electoral college, which he'd get over 300 easy. I'm with you. Who do you think he would take as a running mate?
Vince McMahon. Stone Cold.
Yeah, Stone Cold. The Rock.
Shane McMahon.
That could be their thing. Rock and Stone.
I think that and that's the thing, is I don't really know, in all honesty, if it would be a politician, if it would be you hate to joke and say wrestler, but you never know, and that's why I don't think he's there yet. I don't even think he wants to do it. I think he just enjoys what he does. But could you imagine him going to all the hearings or when they do the NATO crap and all that stuff, and you got 130 country leaders and you just got him just jacked and everyone just yep, we'll do whatever you say.
And you think he would? He'd probably lose some muscle if he did, because he wouldn't have time. He has to wake up as president. You're usually up about 4 o'clock.
Yeah, so he
doesn't have time to work out.
Oh yeah, he'll have time to work out.
Yeah, answer calls
and just send pictures of his awesome cheat meals all the time. That'd be so
the
great.
Pancakes. Oh my gosh. So that's a great question. He would have to beat Trump. I think he could beat Trump. I think he could beat anybody. I'm with you. I agree. So great question, Justin. Thank you as always, sir. And so next, Raw. Did you watch Raw or SmackDown this week?
I did not, so I'll let you go ahead and I'll just chime.
So I'll just get into some things. Raw was a big setup for Survivor Series. So Strowman and Dolph are already on the team, and then Baron came out and said he's going to fight Kurt to see who's captain of the squad. Well, Braun chased around Baron all night, so that match didn't happen. The main was actually Kurt and Drew McIntyre, which we'll get into later. Alexa's going to captain the women's team. She just didn't fight. The Riot Squad, they beat Sasha, Bailey, and Natty. And the ending of that match was kind of funny. Ruby stomped on Jim Neidhart's glasses.
Jesus.
So I'm like,
really?
Yes.
God.
I don't know if those were legit his, but, something like his.
Right, but, yeah, I mean, it's a good story.
Right. And then, so Apollo Crews, he beat Jinder Mahal. AOP, so Seth Rollins came out, and Baron said he had to defend the titles himself. He lost him to AOP, and which wasn't surprising. And then Ambrose comes out, hits Dirty Deeds, and leaves. Just walks in, hits the Dirty Deeds, and leaves after the match because Seth's basically asking, why are you doing this? What happened? And he just Dirty Deeds him and walked out.
Interesting.
Dolph comes out, and Elias interrupts. So Elias is a face. Is now probably my favorite thing.
He's even better as a face?
Oh, my God, dude. He's so good. So he got a huge pop, and he mentioned Oasis, and they're in England.
Okay.
So people are just popping, and then they're just like doing, oh, Elias. And so he starts off with the guitar and plays Seven Nation Army.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I was like, he just, and people are like, ah!
Everyone's freaking out. That's pretty sweet.
They just loved it. And then he ended up beating Dolph in a match. So I'm happy they put him in a match with somebody that's credible, like Dolph, and he beat him clean. So it was an awesome thing to see. Ronda came out. He'll love this. Called out Becky and says, Becky made me the man, but Ronda's the baddest bitch on the planet. So I'm
Jesus.
like, yeah, so it was pretty interesting. Nia, let's see who. She beat Ember. And then Tamina came out and they stomped on her some more and basically kind of set up like, oh, they could be a dominant tag team when they do this women's division for tag team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we think is coming. And they're cousins, so cousins of Dwayne as well. Like we said, Braun chased Corbin all night. Lashley beat Finn Balor, and Drew came out and looked like he was going to turn face and help Finn, helps him up, gives him the Claymore. So I'm like, there that goes. And then he fought Kurt in the main, and he made him...
Drew?
Drew McIntyre fought him in the main and made him tap with the ankle lock.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, Kurt let that happen, huh?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then Drew and Dolph attacked Kurt after. So overall, that show was mediocre. I think Elias, for me, was the high spot because he's just awesome.
Yeah.
So he's kind of reminded me, if they use him, I think he has the potential to be like a Triple H who could flop back and forth from face to heel at any moment in time and be okay. Because he got a lot of heat in Seattle.
Oh yeah,
and now he's a huge face.
He knows what to do. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get a reaction out of the crowd, which is good as a face or heel. So you know what that means is that he's probably going to be the next big star. He certainly can be.
I know they're still going to push Roman,
and they will. But
when Roman comes back, I think we're all actually going to like him. Unfortunately, under the circumstances, but it's going to be a hero's return with the leukemia, and
I know
if he does come back, and unfortunately, that's going to be the way to him to be liked. And, it's unfortunate to see.
It'll last for a month, and then he'll get booed again.
Yeah, because he'll come back, and maybe they'll actually turn him heel, and he can be a heel. That would be nice.
Goddamn heel! That one's for Brandon. He'll enjoy that.
Goddamn!
No, so would Jason. Jason loves my Jim Cornette impression. I don't know why. It's not even that good. I'm under the weather. I don't even feel that good right now, but that one sounded good.
I like it. That was pretty good. I'll give you credit.
It's a goddamn heel! Double mayo, double onion, double pickle. Motherfucker!
So, SmackDown, I thought was much better. Shane opened it up, states that he's not the best in the world. He announced Daniel Bryan as captain, and then Miz came out and interrupted and said no. So he made him co-captains, and then Miz said, okay, you're on the team, to Shane. So Shane's on the team, and Miz and Daniel. And then the Usos beat the New Day, and they picked New Day to be on their team at Survivor Series because they're going to have like a tag team Survivor Series.
Okay.
So New Day and Usos are going to be on a team together.
And it's going to be, and this Survivor Series is all Raw versus SmackDown, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I thought. Because this is like, what is it, like 02, 03 they did this, something around then, right when they did the draft, I think?
Yep.
I think there was even a game that came out. I think I had that. Good one.
That would be, this will be interesting to see what happens. So Daniel Bryan and Miz are deciding between Mysterio, and he doesn't want Mysterio, Miz doesn't, Daniel Bryan does. So they said, okay, if he beats Cien Almas, who is also is an up-and-coming star, and Vince is high on him to be on the team, Mysterio has to win. So then Becky comes out. She chimes in at Ronda and says, yeah, she is the man, and we'll make Ronda her bitch at Survivor Series. So I'm actually looking forward to this.
So that's not going to be title for title, right? They're just fighting, right? Okay, that's what I thought. Because I saw that at Crown Jewel. I think they previewed it, and I didn't know if it didn't say anything, so I didn't know if it was going to be title for title or not.
No, and so Nikki Cross. I don't know if you don't watch much NXT. Nikki Cross finally debuted against Becky, and it was awesome. She's great. She was going to be the one that they talked about being Sister Abigail. And she would have been perfect because she looks like that.
Her and Bray?
Back last year. And she should have been brought up a while back. She's good. It was nice to see her. It wasn't a squash match. It was actually a good match. And Becky ended up winning. Ray beat Cien Almas. And then here comes Randy Orton out of the crowd, RKO out of nowhere. Again. So here's what I'm thinking. And I started thinking about this, and I want to get your thoughts. So he attacked Jeff Hardy for a long time, past month or two. Now it's Ray. You think the Legend Killer's coming back?
It's very possible. I mean, just for the track record he has now, if he would have went out and RKO'd Hogan, then you definitely would have known. But since he's back, you certainly never know. I think the Legend Killer was great, but that was when he was younger. I mean, Orton now is kind of a legend. So, what, is he going to RKO himself?
That would be interesting to see.
I think it would. Would he shake his own hand is the question.
Yeah, would he drop his drawers and introduce himself to himself?
Hello, Randy Orton. I am Randy Orton, the Legend Killer. I'm not shaking that thing.
I'm not shaking. So Paige came out and announced a women's team for Survivor Series, so they're going to do a women's team too. So Carmella, Naomi, Sonya Deville, Asuka, and Charlotte. But Charlotte never came out. Mandy Rose came out instead. And then she wanted to know basically why she wasn't picked, and then they all had a fight. Kind of boring. Yeah. And then the last match was Miz wanted Samoa Joe and on the team, and Daniel Bryan had him fight Jeff Hardy, and the winner going on. So Joe taunted Daniel Bryan. Joe ended up winning. And then he taunted Daniel Bryan. Miz ended up breaking up a yes lock that he had on Samoa Joe. And Miz and Bryan go at it until Shane made the save, but then Daniel Bryan slammed Shane on accident. So those four guys just stared each other down. I'm like, I'm okay with that team. Okay. You know, Miz, Shane, Daniel Bryan, and Samoa Joe. Yeah. That's a good team.
Are they doing 4 or 5?
They're probably going to do 5. See, I'm wondering if they're going to do, they're saving on AJ Styles, if he's going to fight Brock. They fought in the past and Brock won. Yep. So we'll see. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing that because it is, you know, a monster against a guy whose, you know, in-ring ability is better. But, you know, we'll see. So let's thank our sponsors real quick as always. You know, All Wear Clothing, thank you, Brandon. Thank you to Crandall's Quality Lawn Care, Sean, for what you do. Thank you to Verizon. Thank you to PNC. We appreciate everything you guys do for us, and we will continue to love your support as it helps us with our show and helps us pay our rent.
It does. I see that sign's gone now, and it just says your son's name with a question mark.
Yeah, he. I guess he wrote that.
So, you know what the sad thing is he's 5, right?
Yeah.
His handwriting's better than mine.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Kind of scary.
Yes, it is. So again, thank you to our sponsors. All right, so let's get into the King of the Ring 98. Given some things that are going on with Brandon right now too, we don't really have any notes for him for this show, and that's okay. But, you know, we look forward to having him back, like Bear mentioned, and to get him to cover some stuff because he does bring something to the show, and it's fun to listen to you guys go back and forth and banter, and we miss him. And we know stat guy Jake, who still is not here. Now it is almost 7, so thank you, Jake, for not getting the memo. Maybe he didn't. Well, no, if he put his clock back, how would that work? So right now it would be 8 o'clock, so he would. So he still should. So that gave him even more time.
But he was here Wednesday.
Yeah.
So the clock change was last Saturday.
Right.
Last Saturday night.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure that he just had too much fun on Friday night. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he probably did. Yeah, with all those boys.
Whoa! What are those?
What are those, motherfucker? That's probably what he was doing.
Oh boy.
So King of the Ring, we'll just get into some of this stuff. So I got a few notes for you here. So Kai and Tai, Funaki, Men's Tao, and Dick Togo.
By the way, you listen obviously to Something to Wrestle.
Yes.
Bruce always calls them Dick to Go.
Dick to
Absolutely hilarious. Makes me I about die every time I hear that because I looked at that, and when I watched this match earlier in the week, I saw that and I heard JR say it, and he called him Dick Togo, and I was like, "Oh no, Dick to Go." It just makes me laugh every time.
And so they fought the Headbangers, who won the match
With Taka. Don't forget about Taka.
Yeah, Taka Michinoku. So Mosh and Thrasher. So do you remember Beaver Cleaver?
Yes, that was terrible.
And it was Mosh.
Yeah, it was.
It's just funny to think of.
It's probably a year after this, maybe 2 years after this.
And then he was something else that was worse. But Beaver Cleaver, where he had this obsession with his mom, Mrs. Cleaver, so it was a play on Leave It to Beaver from back in the day. Just absolutely awful. Next, they had a Jeff Jarrett and Ken Shamrock had a semifinals match. I didn't remember how over Ken Shamrock was until I'm hearing the pop. He was so over, and I didn't even realize
This was also this had to be like him just coming into. I don't know how long he was there, but I know this was recent.
Right.
It couldn't have been more than 6 months.
Yeah.
And with that, I mean, yeah, he did. He got huge pop. I think that it was I thought it was a pretty good match. Jeff Jarrett is pretty solid, and Tennessee Lee is Tennessee Lee. But to amp this up a little bit, I ended up actually watching this with Hot Friend, who has never watched wrestling ever. I told you guys that the other night I forced her to watch a little bit of Crown Jewel before he went to bed. So I made her watch this pay-per-view. Not knowing anything at all, I'm trying to explain the situation, explain what a face and a heel is, all of that. And anyone who cheats is a bad person, no matter what. Doesn't matter face or heel. If they cheat, bad person, which is normally a heel anyway, so it works out. Yeah. She doesn't like him.
Just bad person.
So she didn't like Tennessee Lee because he was a cheater. He was cheating, helping out Jeff Jarrett against Ken Shamrock Shake, as she called him. So she kept calling him Ken Shamrock Shake. Those are the notes of this match. We can go on to the next one.
I want to, one of these, when maybe WrestleMania or Rumble or something, we just all got to get together because I want to hear her commentary.
Yeah, you'll see a couple more in here.
That's
pretty good.
That is great. The next, Rock and Dan Severn. Rock won.
Yep.
Didn't really care for the match that much. It was.
That's what she said. She said she was disappointed. It was boring, but she likes The Rock, so The Rock would be her favorite. Yes. But she was mad because he was a heel at this time with the Nation. Yep. She wanted him to be a good guy. I was like, well, it doesn't work that way.
No. And then you had Al Snow and Head versus Too Much, Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor, and then Jerry Lawler ended up being special guest referee. Of course, Brian Christopher's his son. So this is before they became Too Cool.
Yep.
With Rikishi, they were Too Much. I would have to know, what did she say about Al Snow and Head?
She got it, but it took her a little bit with the head. But she finally got it
after everybody want?
After he did his promo, and I think I can't remember if it was him, and he just said, or maybe it was JR, but someone said just sometimes everyone loves some good head or something like that. And she goes, oh, and I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, that's what it is. No, but and then with that, she goes, that was really stupid. She goes, why is a mannequin head his partner?
And he puts it on the post, which is my favorite.
Which is great, and gets and everyone taunts it. He talks to it. They taunt it. You see Jerry the King Lawler taunting it too, which is hilarious. But this match sucked. But the best part of the match was them putting the Head and Shoulders shampoo bottle on him and then pin it. And so they pinned Shoulders. It was Head and Shoulders. I was laughing so hard. She didn't find it funny, but I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was hysterical.
Such a creative finish. Even though the match absolutely sucked, had to be one of the best finishes ever, right?
Right.
I mean, Brian Christopher beat a mannequin head with shoulders.
Yes. And shoulders.
Hilarious.
That was fantastic. Next was, for me, outside of the obvious match of the night, I liked X-Pac versus Owen Hart, and I forgot about this match, and it can easily get lost on this card and forgotten just based on its King of the Ring, what happened, and then, of course, the Mankind and Undertaker match.
Yep.
The X-Pac won against Owen Hart. This was a good match. I liked watching it. I forgot that X-Pac was actually really good.
Yeah.
And
X-Pac was always underrated. He was a great wrestler, always.
Makes me 1, 2, 3 bear. It makes me think of that. next was New Age Outlaws and the New Midnight Express with Jim
God.
Cornette. Motherfucker. So Bodacious Bart, which is Bart Gunn, and Bombastic Bob, which is
Bob
Hardcore Holly,
yeah.
or I like to remember him as Bob Sparkplug Holly.
Sparky Plug.
Yep. So
STP is what my friends call me.
right.
Sparky Thurman Plug.
So it was just so bad. New Age Outlaws, of course, they were so over.
Yep. And China came out with them too. She came out 2 matches in a row.
Right.
It was pretty impressive.
And I was watching something. You would find this funny. So what is his name? His real name? Road Dogg. Brian James.
Brian James. Yeah.
So I watched a thing when he was in WCW. I was watching Triple H's, which I need to watch the whole thing. I was watching the preview when he was terrorizing in WCW, and he fought Brian James early. Mm-hmm. They fought each other all the time, and Brian James had the curly hair. I'm like, wow, you forget about these things that happen then, and then they become what they were. Yep. Obviously, pretty neat. Next, Ken Shamrock and The Rock, King of the Ring final. Triple H and China were ringside, which them ringside is just always great. What'd you think of that match?
I liked it. I thought it was a pretty good match. You could kind of tell where Shamrock was still a little bit green, but, The Rock, I think, pulled him through that match pretty well. And to be honest with you, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good match. And to see Ken Shamrock, like you said, it had to be only 6 or 8 months being in to be King of the Ring. You saw what kind of push he was kind of getting there. Obviously The Rock wasn't the big star that he was. He was still with the Nation, but he was getting there. I think that was after he took over for Farouk, right?
Right.
I think it had to be in storyline to where he was the leader of the Nation. It was probably something where a lot of people thought The Rock was going to win that match, and he didn't. So it was a good little swerve there, and Ken Shamrock winning was pretty good. The match almost went 15 minutes, and like I said, I thought it was well done, especially getting beat by submission. I think didn't Mark Henry and did they come down and try to interfere? Or they get kicked out of that one.
Kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was him. Was it D'Lo? I can't even remember.
No, that was a Dan Severn match. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Godfather and Henry, or whatever he went by then. He wasn't Godfather, or he wasn't Goodfather, Godfather.
No, he was he still Kama? He might have still been Kama.
No, he was never Kama. He was Papa Shango. Kama Mustafa was somebody else.
No, that was him too.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Stat Guy's not here.
No, I'll look it up. I'll be Stat Guy right now. Guaranteed.
Was he Kama?
Yeah.
I thought Kama, or am I thinking Kamala?
You're thinking of Kamala.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Kamala. So you're probably right. He was probably Kama. Yeah, I'm thinking of Kamala though.
Yep, Charles Wright. That's it. Yeah, no, Kamala. Yeah,
that's who I'm thinking of. That's funny. I felt the same way. It was nice to see Shamrock win by submission, and he was as jacked as ever, and he looked good. I was good with it. So next we'll go into the main before we do what is actually to us the main match, Kane versus Stone Cold for the WWF Championship in a first blood match. If Kane lost, he would set himself on fire. So they had the gasoline
everywhere. They had it on the announcer's desk. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the build-up to this was awesome, I thought. You had McMahon, Mankind, Kane. Promo before the match was really good.
Yep.
All Bear, everybody involved. I forgot until I watched that. You remember he used the voice changer? I forgot all about that. I am Kane.
Yeah, Hot Friend ended up laughing at that voice back. She goes, "What in the hell is going on?" He said, "He can't speak. He was burning a fire." I tried to explain it.
Yeah, and now he's the mayor of Knox County.
Yeah. Now he's a mayor.
I am Glenn.
I am here to help your taxes, maybe give you breaks of this town. I will pile drive all competition.
And no fires. So it'll be interesting. Oh my gosh, but so I thought the cell going up and down was awesome.
That was, I was like, what is going on?
Stupid, but it was awesome at the same time. I'm like, with Kane hanging over it, and he flips him off of it.
Yeah. As you said too, the build up to the match. Kane at the time the only open flesh he had was his arm. So you wouldn't see if he bled, and this is when McMahon's always hated Stone Cold, but McMahon hating Stone Cold, not wanting him to retain the title was like the perfect match. And he bleeds in this match. Mm-hmm. Kane does end up bleeding in this match, but since he had a mask, they couldn't see it, quote unquote.
So my favorite thing there was he was bleeding from the tacks and the scrapes on his back from the tacks from the match before, and JR was smart enough to say, Hebner stated he wouldn't call it for minor things like that because he was bleeding all on his back, on his side, everything. And then my favorite thing is when we get towards the end and Taker comes out and he blasts him with a chair, you can see him lay down and blade.
Oh, yeah.
You can see it was very obvious. He bladed to cut himself open. And like, Kane wins the title. That whole thing happens. But then...
And gave it up the next night, right?
Next night. He gave it up to Stone Cold.
He didn't. He said they'd fight for it.
Yeah.
Is what it was. And Stone Cold came out, wanted to do the rematch the next night on Raw. And Kane, Vince is like, no, you don't have to do this, blah, blah, blah. And Paul Bearer ended up saying yes, and then obviously he ended up losing. So he held the title for 24 hours pretty much.
Yeah, and then, it led into the other things later on, which was later on, like Taker and Kane pretty much are like in cahoots and get the title. And then Vince gets pissed off, and they both can't have the title, so they have to fight. And
that was when Stone Cold was ref.
Right, and then Taker turned on Kane, realigned with Paul Bearer.
Yep.
And that's how that whole
It's
thing
good. Went. It's a great time. It really is. It's one of the, there's a lot of good storylines in that time era, and that's the main one pretty much, and it's really good.
So the main.
Co-main, but really the main.
Yeah, to us, the main.
The
Hell
main
in a Cell.
To everybody. Kind of how I explained this is probably the best and most memorable match in history.
Right.
If someone says name a WWE match, you're probably going to name this one, or your favorite match, or the best match, or
Hogan slamming Andre, or
a
anything
match
like that.
Yeah, but that was
just a slam, not a match. Nobody remembers a match.
No, because the match wasn't that good.
Right.
This, I still go back, and when I watch this, I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Everything that he goes through.
A minute and a half in.
And knowing, because right off the bat, Mankind goes right up to the top. Of course, Taker looks at him, climbs right up for him.
Yeah.
And I was impressed actually first that Mankind got the chair up on the first throw. That was most impressive.
Yeah.
You see people now, they can't get the cell, or can't get the chair up on the cell.
And it's a little taller now, but yeah.
Even back then, there were some matches you could pull up and see that.
Right. And
But
the fasteners were busting, and they were supposed to, but it wasn't supposed to cave in like it did.
No.
That's why you can see them standing in spots like on.
Yeah, they had to be
like
on
the post.
Yeah, they had to be on the
or
post.
they'd be caving in. So it was insane how much that was caving in, and they had to walk in areas where the bars were, like we said, to not cave in. And then minute and a half in, throws him right off,
right onto the Spanish announcers.
And yeah, they didn't know it was coming because they had to move immediate. And then
my favorite's Hugo, the fatter one, and he's just laying there, and he's just laying there, like he's not even moving. He's just laying there, and he's like half tipped because there's like everyone there. When he gets thrown off, the crowd goes freaking insane.
And good God Almighty, that killed him.
With God as my witness, he is broken in half. JR and selling it is great, and the King, the same, because the King's heel announcer, he goes, no, seriously, someone needs to get down here now. Like,
yeah, that's right. I have in my
legit.
notes. He broke kayfabe and sounded concerned and called for help with JR, and that's what they were doing. And then the announce teams, like we said, didn't expect it. And he wanted Lawler asked for people to help the announcers, like on the mic, and you're just like, oh shit. And then what I loved is the cage going up with Taker on top.
Undertaker's still on the cage and it's going up, and that's all Lawler's saying. It's like, okay, and then you get the actual doctor out there. I think his name was Jacques Cousteau or something like that. But I'm serious. But the actual doctor, legit injury doctors out there with Terry Funk and obviously
Terry Funk with no shoes, socks.
No, he did. You got to wait. We'll get there. There were shoes. Yes,
there were shoes.
We'll get there.
I must have just noticed it when he's walking away with them at the end.
Yep. No, we'll get to that point. He did, and obviously they go to stretcher him out, and no, not happening. So of course the cage comes back down. Mankind with pretty much a separated shoulder because I don't know. Did he have one? Was that ever said? I think he did. But his left shoulder was definitely jacked up for sure. Climbs back up the cage. By the way, this is a 300-pound man climbing up a not sturdy cell with one arm. Impressive. So gets back up there. Undertaker, beating him up, hits him with the chair, which just looks like it hurts. And then the choke slam through the cage, on the chair, on the mat. The chair hitting him in the mouth. His tooth going through his nose. Just nuts. And that one was like, oh my God, he's dead.
Lawler, he's like, that's it, he's dead.
That's it, he's dead. And that was great. And then you see everyone rush back in again, after they're standing there watching, rush back in again. So, of course, as Taker just stands there, and I was kind of telling Hot Friend this, I go, he didn't expect that to happen. That
he thought he was dead. He said that. Taker did say he thought he was dead.
He's looking down. You can see him just look, and he doesn't break character, but you could see the look in his eyes like, oh, shit, that's not good. So then he jumps down, looks like he tweaks his knee, if you saw that.
Yep.
And then as they're buying for time, as they're in here looking at him, of course, they got to keep going. So Terry Funk tries to confront him, and that's when he gets choke slammed out of his shoes. That's where it happens. He gets choke slammed out of his shoes, and I think Lawler made a mention of that.
Yeah, I knew he got choke slammed. Maybe that was out of his shoes.
And you thought it was over then, right?
Right, and it wasn't.
But it wasn't. And then they go and they fight. And I think what hurt most watching is that knowing that he has some sort of separated shoulder or something, obviously concussed to shit. Because, he destroyed that mat. It's not like the mats they have now. These mats were still really hard back then. He takes the... you see him when he goes to pick up the steel stairs. He can't. So you know his shoulder's definitely jacked. Those steel steps are only like 40 pounds.
Right. And like he always said, even when he went through the cage, he said because he didn't take it properly, that probably saved him. Because if he would have taken it properly, he'd probably be dead.
Yeah, he probably would have broke his neck.
Yeah.
Because if you watch, he landed, kind of on his side. Yeah.
Yep.
So... obviously, with that, he tries to pick him up, he can't. And then Taker grabs him, and then Taker hits him with him right in his shoulder that is hurt. And it's just like, oh, like I'm cringing watching this, like, oh, that's got to hurt.
Yeah.
And then I think he beats up Taker. Taker goes to suicide dive him through, hits the cage. You can see him blade at that point. If you watch, you can see him roll over and blade as well. Give himself a little bit of color for the match. And then, of course, Mankind pulls out the old thumbtacks. Like I said, just when you think it's over. And I was telling Hot Friend this, is that obviously they go through. Looks like he's going to put Taker through it. Doesn't happen. They beat each other up in the corner. Taker is getting the mandible claw. He picks him up with Mankind on his back, walks over, and just backdrops right into the tacks. And it's like, oh. And after the match, I've heard this from, I think it was Mankind or it was the Something to Wrestle With podcast, whatever, is that Mankind goes back and apologizes to Undertaker and says, sorry, I missed the thumbtack spot. And while he has 1,000 thumbtacks still in him. And Taker's like, you didn't. We hit it. And he goes, oh, okay. and that was it. And it's just insane, like, how concussed he was and how much that, it messed him. It had to mess him up. But through the thumbtacks and everything, and then finally ends up getting the tombstone and gets the 3 count, and then everyone runs right back into the ring again. And it was insane. Like I said, one of the craziest matches you have ever seen, will ever see, and probably in all time now, because they're not going to do any crazy shit like that anymore, unless it's like New Japan or whatever comes up here. But yeah, one of my favorite matches. Just watching that in awe every single time. I there's certain times where I'm speechless, kind of like I am now, just after going back through it and just rewatching it and just rethinking of everything. It's just crazy what he went through and how he didn't die or wasn't seriously injured, how he wasn't in a wheelchair or broke his neck or anything like that. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite matches ever.
Yeah, it was fun all the way through, and we enjoyed it. We had a good time watching it, and looking forward to, what do we got? Bash at the Beach, 96 next week. The Hogan turn is what we're doing next week, so that'll be interesting. So let's get into the Jason debate, since it's only us. Please describe a moment from a match where you had legit heat with a wrestler. Back in the day, fans would jump the rails and hit the ring. Have you ever had that much passion where you would have hit the ring? So... me, no. I would have never hit the ring, and I'm not an idiot. And heat with the wrestler, I really couldn't think of any for me.
I'm with you. Yeah, I would not be a crowd jumper. I don't get. I like it. I can get into it, but I don't get that emotional. I still know at the end of the day it's fake. It's just storyline. They're not really beating the crap out of each other. My favorite wrestler really isn't about to get burned alive right now. So. No, nothing of me wanting to jump into the crowd, but legit heat, sure. There's been certain times where I'm watching and I'm angry. I think one of the main times that I remember that would have been WrestleMania 20, which we'll probably cover here. I'd like to cover in one of the next ones, maybe within the next month.
Let's set that up after
96. Let's let Brandon pick when he comes back next week, because he'll be back.
Depending on when Ryan comes on, because we'll probably let him pick another.
Yeah, but one of those in between, whenever we have one, I want WrestleMania 20, because that's That's my favorite pay-per-view of all time, ECW.
So good.
One Night Stand being second. Definitely my favorite. But in that match, when Christian turns on Jericho, because I loved Jericho at the time. I mean, I still do, but when he was face there and turned on him and then made out with Trish on the stage, I don't know if I was more mad at the heel turn or more mad he got to make out with Trish. Whichever one.
How old were you then?
12? 13?
13.
Yeah, 12. No, 12, because it was 04, yeah, and that would have been early 04. So, yeah, I would have been close to turning 13, but yeah, 12. So, I mean, yeah, you can definitely have legit heat with that.
I don't know. I just got to put this out there. So I had to find out where Stat Guy was, and I texted him because, he's supposed to be here. And he's hilarious. We'll see if he makes it in time by the time we finish this show. But he said, I'm almost there. I had to take a shit at the gas station and puked. So...
Oh.
So I might have legit heat with him.
Why is he even coming at that point?
I know, right?
We might as well just finish this now so we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, now it's 10 after 7 in the morning. So.
Was he doing both at the same? I have so many questions. I have so many questions.
Oh my gosh! So,
but yeah, that was one I remember. The only other one I think I've brought up when we've talked about going to wrestling shows, and I don't even think it's legit heat. It's just when I was younger and flipped off to Jiri. I mean, that's not legit heat. I was probably 7 or 8. Yeah, 8, I think. So yeah, that would have been the only other time I had quote unquote legit heat. But yeah, other than that, no, I'm too old for that crap anymore.
That's like I didn't have heat. Obviously I love Michaels. I remember watching Survivor Series in the Montreal Screwjob. Yep. I was a kid. I was 10, so I didn't understand.
I would have been cheering.
Yeah,
screw Bret Hart.
No, but we didn't know like. I'm like, because it was all real to me then, still
real to me, damn it.
Right, and so you don't know that it's a legit screw job or Vince gets knocked out until you get older and all that stuff happens. So the next part of this is in relations to question 1. Have you seen the videos of when fans do hit the ring that pretty much get destroyed by the wrestlers? So my favorite one, oh my God, first off, yes, I do love this. My favorite was in Germany, and you'll probably know what I'm talking about, Triple H and Stone Cold. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah.
So Stone Cold just beat Triple H. He's laying in the ring, taking off his, and he talks about this too on his podcast. He's taking off his black tape from his wrist like he normally does. Here comes a fan and knees him and almost threw a punch. Here comes Triple H off the ground. He's like, and Stone Cold talks about, I didn't know his wrestling background if he had one, but he just power slams him to the ground and just grounds and pounds him. So similar fun fact about this, you know who the ref in that match was that also got some kicks and punches in? A lot of them.
Hold on a second. Because I do recall this. I want to say Earl Hebner.
No.
No?
He also reffed the Hell in the Cell match we just talked about.
Was it Kyoto?
It was Kyoto. Kyoto was in there with him. So
that would have been my second guess.
Yeah.
But Hebner, because I've seen Hebner, you've seen him do that before too.
Yeah, I've seen him do it too.
Yeah, there's been times where he's done it as well.
And Kyoto's in there like punching, like, why is he doing it? Triple H got him under control. And it's like, and Austin said it best, and what people don't realize is when people come in the ring, like back in the day, you're talking the 30s, 40s, 50s, people would like legit stab wrestlers.
Yeah.
Because to them it was still real, and it wasn't until the 30s that it came out that, hey, this is fake. Because it was in the newspapers. It used to be in the newspapers all the time, the results. And then they're like, oh, it's fake. So then it's no longer in the newspapers. People were still stabbing the shit out of people because it was real. Like they'd see a heel and a face in a bar together having drinks, and they're like, what the fuck is this?
Yep.
Why are they doing this? They don't like each other.
Yeah, you can't do that. I saw it on TV. It's real.
So, it was interesting, and you watch that, and I'm like, and that's where Stone Cold talks about it, and then why I really want to finish that Thy Kingdom Come, because a lot of people had to heat on Triple H, even fans, they don't know shit, and I'm like, this guy started from the bottom, now he's here, Drake, and...
Started from the bottom, now we
Yeah, exactly. So he started there, and then they talked about how he signed his contract. He got it. He was offered a 2-year deal by Eric Bischoff.
Yep.
And he got a 1-year deal, $52,000, and he said, "I want 1 year. You're going to either know you want me or you don't." So he goes in, does his thing, and worked hard. They said he still went to Power Plant, WCW Power Plant.
Yep.
He would go to that every day, and he didn't have to. It wasn't part of his contract. And so he met with. I was listening to this, and I found it amazing. He's talking to Vince. He meets with Vince after that year and says, Vince asked him, why do you want to leave? And he said, I want to leave because everything is becoming a taping, and I'm only working a few shows a month. I want to fight the best people around. I want to work every day, 300 days a year. I want to get better. I want to fight the best people. So he calls him back a few weeks later, and he talked about knowing Vince now. Obviously, it's his father-in-law, but knowing Vince now, he thinks he respects him more for it because he said he wanted to learn and fight 300 days a year. And so Vince offered him, said, I'll give you more money. You're going to make more money, and you're going to fight the best. And so, now we know where Triple H is today.
Yep.
And the guy is just amazing. Without him, I don't know where the sport would be. And just to think of what he went through, and they talked to his parents in that show, and how important he was. And he talks in there about when he was in WCW and he was terrorizing, and they repackaged him within that year. And Flair sits down with him. He's like, "So your last name's like Levesque?" And he's like, "Levesque." He's like,
Levesque.
He's like, so it's like French, right? He's like, "All right, your new name is John Paul Levesque," and his name is Paul Levesque. He's like, "You're a French guy." He's like, "What do I do?" He's like, "You figure it out." So that's when he came in and did he's like, "I don't speak French." And he's like, "So you do broken English." And so he did that and said how he was the best and he was this aristocrat, essentially.
Yeah.
And when he came to WWF at the time,
Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Did you know he came up with his name? Because they wanted him to be like John Paul, like Helmsley or something like that. And he wanted to play on the HHH, and he came up with Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
And still to this day, isn't that
Triple
crazy?
H.
Yeah, that's what you call him. You don't call him anything else.
They call him Hunter,
And yeah, right. It's still Hunter all the time.
Yeah, he's not Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's never Hunter Helmsley. He's none of that. He's just Hunter or Triple H.
Yep.
That's it. And it's just amazing. Like, I love those stories, and we're going to talk here in a minute about that, and because Jason had some good information about it. And I was talking to the girlfriend, and I said, we need to watch this, because she will watch some wrestling, but she's more interested in the stories, and so am I now that we're older, just knowing how they came about, which leads into this next question. Unless you've got more about the wrestlers, being attacked.
None that I can remember. Just seeing them every once in a while in both WCW and WWF. I'm sure WWE probably hasn't happened because they have security everywhere now. But yeah, I mean, you always see it, and good. I hope that the wrestlers beat the living shit out of them when someone stupid does that. Just like when someone rushes a football field and gets tackled by preferably players. Those are my favorite.
Right. I agree. So, Jason asked, have you watched the series My Son or Daughter is a WWE Superstar? Pretty solid biographies. Can be seen on both the network and YouTube. The series breaks all the rules of kayfabe, but it's cool to know the life story of a wrestler. So, I didn't even know about that. But I just started, like I said, watching Triple H That Kingdom Come, and want to get more into watching those type of things about the history of that.
I have not watched that either, so it's probably going to be... I didn't know it was on the network, so it's going to be something I'm definitely going to have to look into here. I'm just more impressed Jason spelled kayfabe right. So good job, Jason. Proud of you.
Good job, man. All right, and then the next part, Brandon's smaller twin, Samoa Joe. Should WWE make him wear a shirt? What are your thoughts?
No. I think that Joe is just fine. If Joe is wearing tiny trunks and not like the actual gym shorts, athletic shorts that he wears, I would say probably yes.
Yeah.
But I think he's fine without his shirt.
Does he look like Dino Bravo?
Yeah. I think he's just fine without the shirt. He could stand to lose a couple LBs, but I think that makes his character, so we'll say no. But Brandon, he does have to wear a shirt.
Yes, and so for me, no as well. I think he's so over, and like we said earlier, he's the top heel right now, fun to watch, and again, he's in the wrong era for me.
Yep,
and
I agree with you there.
Yep, so... The last thing with Jason, please review your initial reaction when seeing Macho Man get his arm violated by Jake's snake pet. Snake pet.
What was snake pet? It was anaconda.
Yeah.
My initial reaction to that was, okay, that's pretty cool, but I didn't watch that whenever the hell it happened in '88 or something like that. So I'm sure if I was a kid, if I'm going to go back, because that's how I'm going to look at it, not when I was 20-some years old watching it going, that's fake. It isn't fake. I've read into that and looked into it. It's a real snake biting his arm, obviously devenomized, which is crazy. Macho doing that in general is awesome. The snake does look fake, though, and it looks like it's like robotic, doesn't it? When you watch that, if you go back and rewatch it, it looks robotic when he's doing it. So that's why... When the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, that's fake. And then I read into it. No, it was a real snake. It was devenomized and all that. So that was cool to know. Cool that Macho did that in general. But, my initial reaction if I was a kid, especially in that time, I probably would have freaked out. Because I'm not a fan of snakes.
No.
So I would have been extremely scared. And I was always kind of like Macho. So he probably would have been one of my favorites. So, yeah, if I was a kid probably been really, really worried and scared and all of that. As an adult, nah, don't care. Should have bit his whole arm.
Right.
I wanted to see him swallow him half and then get out of it. That would have been cool.
That would have been interesting. So Jason,
Macho would just feed him Slim Jims as he went in there.
Right. Snap into a Slim Jim. Yeah, I laughed at it, not watching it now because I'm like, wow, that sucks. But as a kid, same thing. I would have been like, what in the hell is no?
Yeah.
Hell no. So, yeah, kind of the same thing. Jason, thanks as always for your stuff. Next thing, Jeremy had with the perfect discussion, asked us about commentators and his kind of the favorite team of commentators and what our thoughts were with that. So to kind of get into what he had mentioned, which I found interesting, excuse me, what do we think of the current batch, first off?
I am not a big fan, to be honest with you. One, I've never liked Michael Cole, so I'm not a fan of him leading a broadcast. Renee isn't bad. I like Renee Young. She's pretty good in that role. She definitely has a lot of work to do, but I think she's pretty good. I know a lot of people like Corey. I'm not a big fan, but he's actually starting to grow on me a little bit. I think he's getting better and better and better as he goes. So I'm starting to actually, let Corey Graves grow on me a little bit. Who does SmackDown? Because to be honest with you, I don't know that.
Gosh, I get Corey Graves as well.
He does SmackDown too.
He does them both. Yeah.
I kind of like when Saxton was in there. He was all right, but now that I don't know if he the backstage guy now. I know he did it at Crown Jewel, so I wasn't sure if he did that. Okay, so he does it then
sure.
too.
I can't remember. Is Byron on the? I'll have to look into that.
Because he did all the Crown Jewel ones. Also, and I'm sorry, I want to go back. I know we started this because now I just thought of it as we said that. Did you like the old school promos Crown Jewel did? How they in the back? That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
That was neat.
Okay, that was it. I should have mentioned that earlier and forgot about it, but I liked that. It was something different, It wasn't the crappy cut promo. They taped him before and did him. I thought that was awesome. But the commentators team now, not exciting, but I think we've been spoiled. So, it's just like the Monday Night Football team now. Not great.
Oh,
we've
God.
been spoiled. So now we're getting, I think, lackluster commentators. But my top 3 of all time, number 3 would have to be probably Bobby the Brain Heenan. I loved him on commentary. I think that he was fantastic, and I wish I would have been able to watch him more live. But now that I can understand him more as an adult and listen to some of the things he says on both WWE and WCW watching, it's phenomenal. Absolutely, I love it. Number 2 was.
Hold up.
Oh, sorry.
I'll give you my
go
number
your 3. Okay.
Yeah, Bobby Brain Heenan.
Okay.
Same thing, like you said. I liked him. He was great in WWF, and I mean he's one of the greatest managers. He is the greatest manager for us that we mentioned. He was great in WWF. But I liked him better in WCW when he would just rag on Hogan. Hogan, you turned on WCW, like that whole thing. And we'll talk about it at Bash at the Beach because he's like, wait a minute, whose side is he on? We're going to talk about that next week. So number 3 for me, also Bobby the Brain Heenan. Okay,
my number 2 is going to be JR. Obviously, JR is one of the best. I love JR, all his sports, lingo, everything along those lines. A lot of people don't like that, but I like, giving sports backgrounds of these guys, who's who, all that stuff. So JR is my number 2, and he's probably the best ever, but in my personal opinion, he's number 2.
And same here. He is also my number 2, so this is just going down the line. He's my number 2. I know it's Brandon's probably number 1. He's not here to tell us, but I guarantee it's his number 1.
I would agree.
Just the things he says, what he did, all he did for it, even the good God Almighty is broken in half. Some of his lines we'll always remember.
Yep.
And then Boomer Sooner, he always came out to that. So I always think of Brandon as an announcer. I just put his face on JR coming out to the Notre Dame fight song.
Ugh, God.
So, number 1.
Number 1 is the King.
Same here.
Yeah, definitely my favorite. Just so many great one-liners. Heel King is the greatest. You can't beat that. It's
with everybody he's with.
Yeah, it's
Vince,
phenomenal.
I loved him with Vince.
Yep.
He was great. He was great with JR.
He was phenomenal with JR, obviously, and with Vince, he was very good as well when he first came in and started doing that in '96, I think. Just absolutely phenomenal. But all his one-liners, everything that he's ever said, just great. And as a face, he's really good too. As he's grown into that and done face and commentating, fantastic.
I don't know if you were watching live. I was watching live when he had his heart attack.
And I did not watch that live.
It was nuts because you just see people. I remember watching it live and I rewound because I'm like, holy shit, because they're showing all the fans standing up looking, and you can hear him go down. Yep. And they cut the mics off, and you see Kane just looking over at him because he's in a tag match. I don't remember who else is in the match, but I remember Kane leaning over the rope like, shit.
Yep.
Like, this is not good. And then it made me reminded me that, oh, yeah, at one point, Jerry Lawler, that was his dentist.
Yep.
Dr. Isaac Yankem.
His dentist could have came down and saved him.
Yes. So that was rough.
Yeah, definitely. And then best team of commentators, even though I have King and JR as my 1-2, I think the best team of commentators is Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. I mean, when you watch some of the older wrestling, some of that older stuff, they're just great together. I mean, if it was a top 5, Gorilla Monsoon would be 4. I think he's a wonderful announcer, and him and Heenan just mix so well together.
They tied for me with JR and King.
Yep.
But like you said, they were heel and face, and they played the roles.
Oh, so well, and they fed off of that, and Heenan would always get the crowd to do the weasel chant, and the brain would just eat that up, and it was amazing. I thought that they were always my favorite. That's the main reason why the older wrestling for me was just great, because both of them on the mic were absolutely fantastic. Definitely a very, very close second are the King and JR. But actually, third for me would have been Vince and Jesse. I thought they were great as well. I think they were absolutely fantastic, and Vince is very good on the mic. He always was a great announcer. He could be up there in the top 5 as well. But, yeah, those would be my top 3 commentating teams.
And so what Jeremy had, Gorilla and Bobby Heenan were his all-time favorite duo, same as us. Mm-hmm. And with heel Jerry Lawler probably being his favorite overall individual, same as us. So honorable mention of Jesse Ventura and, of course, Lord Alfred Hayes.
Okay.
And he said Vince was actually really good, and as he was the butt of a lot of Lawler's jokes. And Lawler always saying he wore a toupee. He found that fantastic. And then for the current batch, he thinks they're horrible. Graves has potential, but he flip-flops all the time between who he supports, which gets old. Renee can barely get a word in, and at times I forget she's even there.
True. She doesn't talk much, and I think they need to push that a little bit more as they go. But it sounds like, and I didn't even, that's Jeremy sending that to you. I didn't even see that. So pretty much we're on the same exact page, and it sounded like we said a lot of the same things, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I forgot about it. That's why I had to pull up what he said. So thank you, Jeremy, of course, for the perfect discussion. Mm-hmm. And which, by the way, we talked about it on Wednesday where he's at with us in football. So
still one behind.
Yep. So keep it up, man. You're doing great. And so our final discussion of the day, so I can head up to East Lansing. Top 3 wrestlers to never win the WWE or WCW heavyweight title. So for me, I have honorable mentions. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon.
Yep.
Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. I know he might be in your top.
Yep.
And Ted DiBiase, for me, are my honorable mentions.
I didn't do honorable mentions, so I'll start off with my just top 3. And yeah, my number 3 is Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. Intercontinental champion, tag champion. The dude was great. He's one of those to where I'm pretty sure they what did they say, that he didn't need the title to make him, sort of thing.
It's kind of like Michaels later on, where he said he didn't want the title.
Yeah, he's already a big enough star that you don't really need the title. It's just there. There are guys who need the title and need to have that on them to give them that next push. But yeah, Kurt Hennig is my number 3.
My number 3 is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Okay. And I have him at 3. Never won. He had NWA title, of course, but he never had WCW or WWE. So that's why I put him at 3. Hard times, baby, hard times.
My number 2 was, if I was growing up in the 80s, he would have been my favorite, probably, Rick Rude. Absolutely loved Rick Rude. I thought he was, I go back and watch that. Phenomenal wrestler. I mean, he's great. I loved how just him putting other people's girls and stuff on his trunks, airbrushed back in the 80s, phenomenal, and having Heenan there as his mouthpiece for a good amount. I thought he was great. I loved Rick Rude. Rick Rude is not better than Mr. Perfect, but in my opinion, I think that he should have been that, and he was the same thing. He had the body, had the charisma, had all of that. He didn't need the belt. That's what they didn't want. He didn't need it.
Right. And my number 2, to throw back to Santino Marella, Roddy the Piper. He is my number 2. He essentially carried a lot of this. And I went back and I was like, I feel like he won the WCW title though, and I couldn't remember, so I just put him in at number 2. I felt like he won it off of Hogan, but I could be wrong. Maybe I think he just beat Hogan without the title, but I can't remember. So might have to get a correction on that, but that would have been my number 2. And if he did win the WCW title, then you could throw Dusty at 2 or throw in Mr. Perfect, like we said, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, any of those guys.
Well, I was hoping that you wouldn't, because that's my number 1. Roddy Piper is one of my favorites. Old school guy, especially going into WCW as well. That's actually where I saw him more, until obviously he went back to the network and watched everything. But I mean, everything Piper did was phenomenal. Even later when he came out, or when he came back in the early to mid 2000s, absolutely phenomenal. Piper still had everything about it. He had the Piper's Pit. I thought he was great. He was a wonderful heel. He was a great face. There was so much good about Piper. He was an amazing wrestler. I mean, if you wear a kilt around, you got to be a badass, right, to be in that business. And Piper certainly was, with his 17 kids or how many ever he had to, which is also insane. But yeah, Piper is my number 1, and even if he did win it, screw it. I'm still picking him number 1.
Right.
Suck it.
You know my number 1?
No.
Owen Hart.
Okay.
He should have won. I still think he's the King of Hearts, the better Hart.
Yep.
Bret Hart, whatever. Brandon, don't care. Owen Hart should have won the title. Unfortunately, his life was ended short. I don't think they would ever put the title on him anyway, even though he passed away. I don't think he ever would have gotten it. But another guy that was, a mid-carder to, low high card or main card, he should have been there. But he was overshadowed by Bret. And then by the time Bret was gone, that's when you had Michaels coming in, The Rock coming in, Triple H coming in. So it just wasn't his time. The timing was off for him. So, it is what it is. Next week, like we said, we're going to discuss Bash at the Beach, 1996, the Hogan heel turn. And our final discussion next week will be, because we talked a lot about kayfabe, is the top 5, and we made it top 5, moments where people broke kayfabe. So want to talk a little bit about that next week. So, as always, I am Kane. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night.
To you, stat guy. Oh, you're not here. All right. Bye.